What's going on, y'all? Hit that like button for me. We got a little State of the Union pregame warming up for you guys tonight. Because a lot of Democrats, a lot of black women in particular, said that they're going to boycott the State of the Union, I decided I'd talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to hang out for a while until Trump makes it on stage. He's scheduled to start at about 9 p.m. Trump never comes out exactly right on time, so we got some time to kill. Appreciate you guys joining me for the show tonight. Do hit that like button. Let's get right into it, y'all.
Now, tonight, the president will deliver his State of the Union, and he said, as a preview, it may be a little long because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of wins to tout, and he's excited to do that. I'm honored to have with me one of my several guests, Trotter Hunt, who's standing here next to me. He's from Ruston, Louisiana, in my district. His business, like so many American businesses and some of the others represented here this morning, is already benefiting from our historic Big Beautiful Working Families Tax Cut. And certainty that he gets from this is what our pro-business tax cuts and incentives have delivered. And that's very helpful for everybody. We're grateful to Trotter for making the trip, and I'm honored to host him in the chamber tonight. So thank you for being here and bringing your beautiful wife and representing our district so well. This evening, the entire country will hear an update on the full scope of President Trump's transformational and historic first year back in office. The results speak for themselves. Why does he have so much to talk about? Because inflation's down, wages are up, investment is booming, the GDP is exceeding every expectation. Democrats, meanwhile, are going to host, count them, 5 separate counter events, rallies of some sort, they call them, in lieu of tonight's address. For all of these theatrics, it doesn't matter how many little gatherings they have or where they stand or how high the volume is on the microphones. They have nothing to offer, nothing but their TDS agenda, the Trump derangement syndrome, and it's on full display. All they can say, all they can tell you about is how they oppose President Trump and thwart his agenda and shut down the government and protest everything from the president's joint address to basic immigration enforcement. And they obstruct any meaningful progress for the sake of obstruction. It's the same tired playbook that they've run for a decade now. It's shameful that they would boycott an address. We don't do that. Republicans don't do that. It doesn't matter if there's a president from the opposing party. We don't skip out. Our constituents want and need us to be here. Every member of this House represents over 750,000 people. They're disenfranchised if you're not sitting in the seat to be a part of the role and the responsibility of Congress. I think it's shameful. Republicans have a far simpler and far superior message for Americans watching at home. We're putting more money back in your pockets. We're restoring peace through strength. We're defending our border and deporting criminal illegal aliens. We're standing up for American industry and manufacturing, and we're making American workers, not foreign countries, the clear winners in this American economy. Those are not talking points. That is what we have delivered. It's called Republican results, and we are proud to run on that message in this fateful midterm election year. So tonight, President Trump will demonstrate that Republicans are the only team working seriously to bring common sense back to our broken system. It's promises made, promises kept. And he's working, and we're all working together to make the country stronger, safer, and more affordable, and more prosperous for all Americans. And many of them will be represented in that big, beautiful gallery tonight. The American people will see that reflected this evening and in the months ahead as we press forward on all of those promises and so much more. We're excited. It's a great time for America.
Good morning. The State of the Union is tremendous. I can't possibly be any more proud of this president than I am. He has withstood so much negativity, 90-something% negativity from the news medias. I don't even call them news medias. They're it's just the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And people are not getting the message. What I saw yesterday he had a program yesterday for the children that have been killed by illegal
Angel families.
Yesterday, Angel Family. Thank you. I was so impressed. And anyone that cannot see the love and total respect for this country that this man has put on, it's just incredible. It's incredible. Go Trump. You know, I am 100% behind this man. I would walk through hell with this man.
No, 100%. And that's exactly what President Trump can do, because this is the message that Republicans are going to take out to the midterms. The notes in which he echoes tonight will be exactly what you hear Republicans say on the stump. And you keep in mind, this is a president that's going to be out there. It's almost as if he was running for election. They're going to have him on the campaign trail. I'm expecting the president to deliver in a way in which the American people expect him to, presidentially, and tell them what's in it for them. What has he done over the course of a year? And I can tell you, he's accomplished a great deal cleaning up the mess of Joe Biden's presidency, but there's much more to be done. No, 100%. And that's exactly what President Trump can
be finding some. President of the United States is going to give his State of the Union address, and the Democrats got other plans. So some are talking about walking out in the middle of his speech. Others are talking about boycotting it altogether and essentially finding something else to do. I'm here to tell you that neither is acceptable. Neither should be acceptable. At some point in time, ladies and gentlemen, there's got to be an adult in the room. If you're going to act as juvenile, as petulant, as petty as you accuse the president of the United States to be, how are you ever going to hold a high moral ground, at least high enough to judge him accordingly? If people on the right can turn and look at you and say, you're no better, you act no better, where's it going to get you? See, these are the kind of things that end up getting people like myself and others in the news, because we're talking about getting things done. I've said repeatedly, and I'll state it again, and I'll make news by saying it again. I have no desire to be an elected official. I've never entertained politics in my life. I'm certainly not an aficionado on the issues. Got a long way to go to learn all the things that go on. But you know what I have? I have common sense. I have decency. I have respect for the office, even when or if I didn't respect the individual. Because I would understand it as a representative, whether it be that as a representative or a senator in the United States of America. Guess what? I have a constituency to answer to. And I have people who need me, who I represent. And whether I like it or not, this individual is in office until 2028. And I got to find a way to do business with him in order to get something done. You see, when you go to the American people and you ask the American people, yo, stand up, step up, and handle your business. Stop bitching and screaming all the time. When you got problems at the job, when you got bills to pay, when you got a family to take care of, find a way to work around it and handle your business. How come that can't apply to elected officials? Why do they get away with that? Why do they get to circumvent those rules and regulations? Why do they get to circumvent the need and the insistence of mere decorum? This is the kind of stuff that ticks me off.
Y'all done pissed off Stephen A. Smith. To be fair, though, Stephen is always kind of loud. Stephen is always yelling. Even when he's whispering, he's yelling. So, you know, not that shocking. Not that shocking at all. But the Democrats, and you know, largely led by their angry black women cohort, they have decided to do a sort of a soft boycott of Trump. You know, not all of them are boycotting, but a lot of the more progressive radical ones are making a point of boycotting this whole thing.
So there's some counter programming, if you will, happening that you are part of. There's a state of the swamp. There's a rally on the mall. Talk about some of the counter programming and why you will not be in the chamber. You are not trying to attend the meeting, but y'all are on the outside bringing people together.
As I am sitting here, my phone is buzzing in my pocket, and I kid you not, when I was sitting in the green room, Democratic members of Congress every 15 minutes are texting and emailing to join our event. Anyone can watch it free online at defiance.org. This is going to be a massive rebuttal to the State of the Union. And I agree with you, Michael, that this is not a moment for Democrats to be good little boys and good little girls and sit there on the House floor and fold their hands over and be nice and quiet and listen to the president. We keep hearing, you know, let the president have his opportunity to speak freely. The man who is torching the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the man who is trying to suppress our freedom of speech, we're supposed to sit there and respect his opportunity to speak to us? No. So we decided to host this event to speak before Donald Trump, to speak during Donald Trump, to speak after Donald Trump. We will rebut and rebut again his State of the Union remarks. And guess what? I've got news.
He likes saying the word butt, doesn't he? He looks like a butt lover.
For Donald Trump. With how many Democrats I am seeing on these phone messages are defecting from the chamber, I am now confident at the National Press Club at the Defiance.org event, we will have more people at that rebuttal than Donald Trump will have in front of him on the House floor. Guess what, Donald Trump? My crowd size is bigger than your crowd size.
You people are so strange. And right now, there's a channel on YouTube called Native Land Podcast. It was Tiffany Cross and what was that gay black dude who's trying to be mayor from Florida, Andrew Gillum? Anyway, they're having a whole thing now too. Look at this mess, y'all.
When there's no reason for them to have been purged. So tell us, Judith, I'm going to come back to just a moment because what I want to talk about also is how we're fighting it. And Melanie, I know you've been very involved in the fight against the SAVE Act, which I'm sorry, but anytime you hear those jokers on the other side talking about anything to do with integrity, you know it's a lie coming, okay? Because there's no integrity in what we see going on over there. But, you know, Melanie, you're part of the fight, all of y'all, but you're part of the fight to protect us against the SAVE Act because it will not save us. So what do we need to know about what our options are, what the fight looks like right now?
You know, I was putting together a little bit of work for a show. I decided against it. I might come back to it later, but I was looking at, you know, this latest crop of black female politicians and what they're running for, what they believe in. And to a man, every single black politician is incredibly pro-immigration right now. And so now we've gone from like pan-Africa. It's one thing for us all to be black together. now it's just this weird thing of like, even the Latinos are black with us. You know, all of South America is black. Anybody who crosses the border is black now. We're all niggas now, like Gavin Newsom.
Push back on the SAVE Act.
Thank you, and I'm going to apologize because I'm in my home state of Florida, and that's why I only can stay on a few minutes because I got some family emergency happening. I didn't want to miss just getting off for a few minutes. But you know, hey, what we need to do is call the Senate. What folks need to do is call their U.S. senators because it passed in the House. It's in the Senate. They need to call 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. Check to make sure where your senators stand, your U.S. senators, your two senators stand. Make sure that you let them know that you want them to vote no. And the name saved, you know, all that was on purpose, right? It sounds good. You're going to save people, going to save the vote. But at the end of the day, you know, being in a state like Florida, where we've always had so many problems, especially as far back, Judith, as you well know, the 2000 presidential election when the Supreme Court snatched that victory away from Al Gore. The reality is folks have never stopped doing it. Judith made the point when that black man was elected, oh my God, twice they were elected a black South Asian a vice president. It really is about that. And so they're going to do everything they can. And so we have to organize ourselves. We also have to push to try to stop this. And if we don't stop it, we always will have to out-organize. We'll have to overperform. And that's not going to be easy. I think that it's also to educate the community, which is when they thought we wasn't going to show up after 2010, when they passed all those voter suppression laws after President Obama got elected the first time. We showed up, but as we all know, those of us that been out here a long time, they made it, the long lines and all those things. They're going to throw everything at us. We have to do all we can to provide that. But the best thing we can do right now is stop it in the Senate.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Melanie. And thank you. I know you wanted to be here. And we really appreciate it, especially because for the 1 year
anniversary to be here with you ladies.
Love you. And thank you for being here. You've been with us from the beginning. So thank you for coming on through.
Yes. Just, y'all know my brother, so just pray for my brother.
We sure will. Prayers up. You got it. We got it. And thank you, Mel. That's a whole other issue we know we're dealing with, which is healthcare. But we're going to get to that in another segment. So, Demetria, here's what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about the SAVE Act before we then talk about the Supreme Court, because I think one of the things that's important for people to understand, they're trying to attack our right to vote on so many levels. And I feel like people may worry that or think, wait, haven't I been here over and over? Every year we seem to hear about these attacks on our voting rights. But in this particular moment.
That is true. Every year I keep hearing about losing my voting rights. And every year they keep asking me to go out and vote. Which one is it? Are we voting every year or are we losing our voting rights every year? I'm lost. I really am.
What strikes me is, you know, we've seen the current resident of the White House essentially try to amass power, right? I mean, we've been trying to sue him to push back. He's been basically, I feel like the lesson he learned from Jan 6 was not a lesson in democracy, but a lesson that said, well, I've got to overpower the Constitution and overpower the system so no one can stop me. And voting is one of the most important ways that we can put a check on his power. And so as we think about, we're in a midterm year, we see these, you know, measures being passed, and with the SAVE Act, what do we think, what are the chances in the Senate of this actually passing? And let's say if it does, I'm assuming the courts are going to be another option for us.
Well, I'll tell you, the courts have already kind of spoken a little bit on this topic already, Karen. And it's in the form of the fact that the president tried to get this through by way of executive order. And so the court, you know, struck that down. So I think everybody needs to know how persistent they are when it comes to voter suppression, because we had it in the executive order, then we had the SAVE Act. Now this is the Save America Act. And also pending is the MEGA Act, which is Make Elections Great Again Act. Again, a fake name for a problem that doesn't exist, as Judith made very clear. And so there are folks who've been believing in states' rights, and states' rights has not always, we haven't voted well when it comes to people who fight for states' rights.
That's
But this is clearly an attempt for the federal government to take over. And they're taking over because things have been successful somewhat, right? Things haven't been perfect, but this is the 61st anniversary of Voting Rights Act, right? We're headed up there now. And so we had Bloody Sunday, March 7th, almost a week from now, right? 61 years ago. But I want listeners to understand that we cannot stop, to your point, Karen, because guess what? March 7th was Bloody Sunday. Those folks came back March 25th and walked again and made it across that bridge, despite having been beaten. And so we're not even at a point where we're talking about beatings, right? So we've got to fight with our senators. You've got to look at people around your neighborhoods and your cousins who live in another state where their senator might be about to do the wrong thing, and call that phone number that Melody mentioned, because those phones matter. I have walked up and down those halls in the Senate offices, and those little young people answering those phones, sometimes those phones are burning up, and the senators know it when the phones are burning up. So again, that number is 202-224-3121, and that's what we've got to do, because this is because people have been voting. All those people at the 7 p.m. segment that you all had, those people are there because people could vote. People could pick representatives that they wanted to represent them. And that's what this is about. That's what they're trying to stop.
Well, and that's also when we talk about the things that are happening, maybe if you're living in a state where you're hearing about redistricting, that's what it means. And I think it's so important that we, connect all these dots, that the reason we're talking about voting and why it's so important, it's exactly what you just said, Demetra, is because we get to pick who represents us. People, they don't get to pick who their voters are, right? And so we've got to keep fighting this fight. And so, Demetra, I want to talk a little bit about the Supreme Court, because obviously the LDF has played a huge role in a very important and consequential case. And just briefly, before we have to shift gears here, I think it's important that we touch on it, because
we're going to come back to them in a minute, y'all. If they get a little more interesting, we'll drop in back. We'll drop in back on them. But I want to jump to this one right here. Look what I just found.
Fox News Channel. We have just and it's happening right now at the White House. This is breaking news here on the Fox News Channel. We have just confirmed that President Donald Trump will sign an executive order that will make English the official language of the United States. In our nearly 250-year history, we've never had an official language, ever. The executive order expected to be signed sometime today. Bill Clinton made a move on this back in the 90s, but the mandate that he signed will now be rescinded. In other words, what he did in the 1990s is that he did not require agencies that worked for the government to provide English only. They had to provide more options for those who needed different languages upon which they spoke. Donald Trump's going to change that, and we'll see whether or not he sends it up to the Hill, Congress, maybe Speaker Johnson, John Thune. Maybe they jump on something like this with Republicans in control to sign it into law. Many times they've said, if you don't codify it, it doesn't last. But today, the executive order should come down from the Oval Office. All right, we got that. We've got this now for new.
So English is the official American language. Oh, and by the way, speaking of American wins, shout out to Team USA beating Canada. Team USA is at the White House today, too. This looks like a 1990s Ralph Lauren polo commercial, by the way. Got to get me a USA sweater, though, no lie. Got to get me that Ralph Lauren USA polo sweater.
You care about illegal aliens. So Democrats and their leaders are talking about protesting the State of the Union address and having an alternate one. Democrats, we real Americans don't care. You already showed us who you care about, who you are in bed with. Foreigners, you care about illegal aliens, and you care about the cartel. That's who you care about, and that's who you are in bed with. So we don't care, all right? Because the real Americans will be watching the State of the Union, and we're going to make sure that you never get back in power again. Traitors, they need to start arresting you all for treason. We need to make treason great again, and make sure we put you all in prison for a very long time for treason against the American citizens. That's what we need to do. You better be lucky. Y'all better be lucky I'm not president. Because if I was President Trump, then yeah, you all be locked up for treason against the American citizens. So we don't care. The real Americans will be watching the State of the Union, and we will be proudly representing America. All right?
You heard what she said. But still, you know, it's a bunch of hoes mad at the president right now.
On Trump actually mentioned. So yeah, man, Trump said he's about to give the longest State of the Union speech in history. And I just gotta wonder, with you talking for that long, what's the over under on Trump actually mentioning those PDF files? Like, I already know that this man's going to try to take credit for the operation in Mexico that led to a drug cartel capo getting killed, supposedly with the help of U.S. intelligence. And of course, he's going to leave out the part that the war being waged right now in Mexico because of that operation is actually being waged by cartels that are using U.S. military-grade weapons. But, you know, outside of all that, he going to talk about them files. Like, I know he has to talk about something to distract from the fact that he has a historically low approval rating going in to a State of the Union address, like lower than George Bush, lower than the worst version of Obama, the least popular version of Obama. But like, even still, are you going to talk about them files? Because a Swedish UN official was forced to resign after her contacts with Epstein were revealed. An ex-British ambassador, Peter Mandelson, was arrested because of this Epstein case. A former Epstein pilot was arrested in Brazil. The former Norwegian prime minister even got caught up in the game. Bro, even Prince motherfucking Andrews has been arrested because of these files. So I'm pretty sure people are going to want an explanation as to why every country seems to be doing a decent job trying to hold people accountable, except for the US, who released the files under your administration. Like, I am genuinely interested to know how you plan on talking for that long without mentioning those files. I will be waiting with bated breath.
I don't remember really anything devastating about Trump coming out of those files. I mean, honestly, if there was any real devastation in those files, we wouldn't be hearing from random TikTokers about it.
What does this do to the fabric of our communities when we're tearing child from parent in this way?
Yeah, I mean, it robs you of your sense of safety. You're in a perpetual state of survival, fight or flight.
Yes.
And even when they are as young as 2 months old, they are being changed in deeply traumatic, devastating ways on a cellular level that they will be healing from for the rest of their lives. It's psychological harm, state-sanctioned childhood trauma, and this administration is looking to take that to new heights.
What does this do to the fabric of our communities when we're tearing?
See, they want us to care more about foreign children than our own children, who are going to have to compete with foreigners at some point. It's not my fault I can project into the future better than you. And I see what's happening and what will happen and what has to happen.
The state of our union is traumatizing our children.
And that is because of the violent rhetoric and policies enacted by the occupant of the Oval Office, creating a state of child abuse, neglect, and trauma. I've been in Congress 8 years, but my entire public service career has been dedicated to finding ways to prevent childhood trauma, to mitigate its impacts, to heal the children. And that's why tonight,
She's worried about little Mexican kids. Has she ever talked about any of the black kids who have been killed by illegal immigrants? There was just a woman recently got run over by an illegal immigrant running from ICE. And I know there have been a handful of cases where like black girls have been snatched up by illegals in one way or another. They never talk about them. They love to talk about little Mexican kids. I'm sorry, I don't really know a lot of Mexican kids. It's just not really pulling on my heartstrings, you know? Shout out to Mr. Enigma with the $6. He says, I understand why B-dubs want mass immigration. They want options. Statistically, it's going to take a lot of immigrants for the options to exist. Yeah, they want a lot of things. They want a lot of conflicting things, you know? They want free money and endless immigration. You can't have them both.
No more money for you. It's lazy. You lazy. You lazy. No more money for you.
my honorary State of the Union guests will be children who have been directly harmed and impacted by ICE. Now, I will be boycotting the State of the Union. I will not be in the chamber. I will not legitimize or normalize the violence and harm caused by this administration. But I do want to lift up the stories of children who have been directly impacted by the lawless, rogue, and racist actions of ICE. So they will be my honorary guests tonight. Eleni, Daphne, Juan Nicholas, and Suche. Soon enough, you'll hear more about
Suche. She got Suche? Oh my God. I knew the other girls was coming, but I didn't know she got Suche. Oh, snap.
their harrowing experiences. But for now, I just wanted to tell you directly why I'm boycotting and who will be my special guests.
They got Suche, y'all.
I will not be attending the State of the Union. And an overwhelming majority of my constituents are backing me up on this one. Here's why. It's because of what Trump has done to our country, our civil rights, and our democracy.
Are your constituents Mexican? Where is she from? I bet you her people are Mexican. Where your people from, woman?
So we cannot treat this as a normal moment. We cannot continue on with business as usual while our democracy is under attack by a president who thinks he's above the law. And then on top of that, he has signed legislation that will result in thousands of people in our district losing their health care and nutrition benefits. So I know Northeast Ohio has had enough, and I have definitely had enough. You see, attendance is a way of signaling respect, but in this case, absence is a way of signaling conscience. And I've chosen to go with my conscience on this.
You know, recently I saw a video about some woman who was running for Congress, and she says flat out that a big part of her motivation for even wanting to be in government at all is because some guy broke up with her, and she's just been on one ever since then. And I look at a lot of these chicks in government now, and I swear to God, they approach government the same way they approach like a relationship with a guy they're sleeping with or something.
Is a way of signaling respect, but in this case, absence is a way of signaling conscience. And I've chosen to go with my conscience on this one. So no, I am not going to be there because This is an all hands on deck moment to rein in this president and let him know we will not stand for his lies. We will not stand for his name calling or his attacks. We will fight back and we will win.
Yeah, only thing I can tell you is that even if I'm in DC, I'm not attending the State of the Union address. It's the only thing that I know for sure. But I am supposed to be back in DC to go back to work. Yeah, only thing I can tell you is that even if I'm in DC, I'm not attending the State of the Union address.
Hopefully she won't have to come back to DC much longer. She most likely will lose her her Democratic nomination to the Senate down in Texas, but we'll see. We'll see. They got some guy named Talrico. They look like they're trying to line the DNC up behind him. She's not happy about that.
Most storied places in America, but face to face with the man whose policies have upended your life. Can I just ask how you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Did Trump deport your husband? I bet Trump sent her boyfriend back home.
Thanks for asking that question. You know, I have spent the last month learning the names of the tendons in my shoulder, because both of my shoulders are torn, cartilage and tendon, right? But what I haven't learned is the names of the people who did this to me. And that's really challenging. But honestly, the thing that I'm far more concerned about than myself is that this is an ongoing fear and threat for people around this country. What happened to me is absolutely not new in the history of this country, and we have not seen accountability that gives me any reason to believe this won't be done to somebody else. So that's what I'm thinking about today. And honestly, I'm glad that it's me sitting in that seat rather than somebody who's cheering for what happened to me.
And inhumanity. Farishday came to this country over a decade ago, coming to the United States from a refugee camp.
Every single one of these people adopted an immigrant. This is like some kind of weird illegal immigrant Big Brother program. If anybody who is going to the State of the Union, they're making sure to bring some type of illegal immigrant, preferably a Mexican, with them.
Told me just off stage that this is the moment. This is the reason that she came here to the United States, to speak truth to power, to explain the trials and tribulations that every immigrant, that every refugee goes through to get here, and to press this country to the border. I stuck at the border. Go Trump! Go Trump! Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, buddy. Listen, guys. Farishday is here to lift us up to a common purpose and to a common goal, to understand that the best of America lies in how we treat those who have arrived to this country fleeing terror and torture and desperation. We have work to do, guys. We have a mission that we need to complete. And I want you to welcome to the podium my friend, Farishday Kanjave.
It's a really stupid policy. Like, if your country is shitty, you get to come to America. That can't be right.
Administrative leave. So you're going to want to.
Oh, Joy Reid is here. Oh, look at Joy Reid. Oh, we got to focus in on Joy Reid. I had no idea Joy Reid was up there.
By uncaring Republican administration.
All right. All right, y'all okay? You doing all right? How many of you remember Kilmar Abrego Garcia? How many of you guys remember Kilmar? Wave your hand if you remember. Well, coming to the stage is the man who had the courage.
Didn't we send Kilmar to like Nigeria or something?
Oh, look at that. My fans are back. What I always say is, you know who I am, and I don't know who you are. That means you're a fan, you're a fan, you're a fan, you're a fan. Go ahead and keep on standing me. Keep on standing me, because I don't know who the hell you are, but you know me. Hallelujah. Keep on being my fan. Coming to the stage is the great Chris Van Hollen, Senator Chris Van Hollen of the great state of Maryland. He'll be joined by Jenna Norton, a public health scientist focused on health equity and data standards to improve health outcomes in kidney and urologic diseases. She was a lead organizer of the Bethesda Declaration, a whistleblower letter to the NIH director and members of Congress detailing this harm. In November 2025, she was placed on retaliatory administrative leave. So you're going to want to give her a major round of applause. Senator Van Hollen.
Hello, American patriots all. We are gathered here in this place because we love our country. And we know that our democracy is not on automatic pilot. And we know that we, the people, must mobilize to save it. Are you out here to save our democracy? And you're going to hear from a moment from my guest, who is a research scientist at NIH, who was able to stand up and speak truth to power. And you're going to hear her tonight tell that story. Thank you for being here, Dr. Norton. Now we know,
right, of being more likely to be pulled over, and then not only face the criminal consequences, but then face the immigration consequences, right? So our folks right now, in so many ways, are on the front line, are disproportionately impacted. This
is definitely the half Latino crew. These are the Latinx people right here. This is Brandon and Catherine. They're half Black, half Dominican.
There's going to be a big increase in undocumented folks, specifically Black undocumented folks. The cancellation of TPS for Haiti. I could go on and on. We're in a state of crisis.
But I just wanted to add on to that I think it's important for people to remember, those are legal pathways. That means people are doing it when people say, well, I want the people who do it the right way. That is the right way, actually. And then, Brandon, the other piece I want to bring into this, because part
all
of
three of them are different shades of mulatto.
Brought this up. It also means this profiling. Our communities are more criminalized, right? We're under investigation more. We're being surveilled more. And what that means in our communities, the fear and the anxiety, and also the race baiting. And the other place where we've seen, I know HRC is working on the immigration issue, so I'm going to make this a twofer for you, because the second piece of this we have to talk about is what's happening to the LGBTQ community, where it is also, again, all this pitting everybody against each other and saying those people, and right, which is also part of this distraction that's meant to keep us from paying attention to the fact that he is gaslighting us. So I would love for you, Brandon, to kind of talk about the work you're doing at HRC on both of those fronts, because it's so important.
Yeah, well, first of all, I really appreciate what Kat said about immigration being a Black issue. It's important to name that immigration is also very much an LGBTQ plus issue, right? And what we've seen from this administration in particular.
Immigration is an LGBT issue. Are we importing LGBTs? Don't we have enough LGBTs in America? Do we have to import them? Do they make LGBTs cheaper in Mexico and China? Is that what's happening? Do we get LGBTs at a discount if they come from Mexico or China? Is there like a factory spitting these niggas out?
Particular is the targeting of LGBTQ plus asylum seekers in this country, people who have fled countries where they face violence and often even death because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, to come to a country that has said it would be welcoming to them. We've seen this administration target them, whether it's Andre Hernandez Romero, the gay makeup artist who was to CCOT in El Salvador because they didn't like his tattoo, or the two Iranian.
It was probably a gang tattoo. That's why he wound up in the gang prison in El Salvador. That's why they built that prison for the gang members. He had a gang tattoo. Oh, sucks to be him. Apparently gangsters can be gay too. Listen, there's all types of shit going on in this country.
Asylum seekers who the Trump administration is trying to send back to Iran, knowing that they will likely face imprisonment or death because of their sexual orientation. This administration has targeted LGBTQ plus, immigrants, asylum seekers over and over again. So of course, we have to say that immigration is an all of us issue. Every single time the administration targets an immigrant population, it impacts all of us. And I appreciate that you're naming the impacts to LGBTQ plus people across the country more broadly, because this administration and the right wing broadly know very well how linked all of our liberation is. It's clear to them how linked we are because they come after us all at the very same time. And I think they do that for a couple of reasons. One, because the communities that they're targeting, Black folks, immigrants, brown folks, LGBTQ plus people, those are communities that historically they've been able to demonize and dehumanize, to distract the country, to use us as scapegoats, to generate fear so that they can claw power back into their grasps. But I also think they do it because historically, those are the very same communities that have met violence and oppression with joy and defiance that are not tameable. We are populations that cannot be controlled. And our vision of what's possible in this country shines so bright so often in the face of that hate that we actually dare other people to imagine a world that's better for them too. That is what they are most afraid of. And I think this moment calls for that defiant joy and contagious courage. And it is what is scaring Donald Trump and his enablers so much.
Brandon, I want to underscore that. And I love that you said that our uncontained joy, they can't contain us. That right? Let's be real clear. That's been a big part of what this has all been about. They've been trying to contain women. They've been trying to contain people. Like anybody who's not like them, they want to contain us and keep us in a little box because we might just be too much of too much.
That's right.
I love that you named that. I love that you said that. Kat, let's talk real quick because I know we're gonna have to go soon. I'm watching the clock here. I know there are real practical things that I know in my community we've been told in terms of like, if you see something happening, it's take your phone, record it, ask the person, who can I call for you? We're talking about voting. We're talking about, and this I guess is for both of you, I should say, we're talking about building political power, Black political power. How can we build our political power in this moment to fight back against this hate and division and really just this terrorizing of our communities?
That's such a great question. So there's so many things that we can do, and we are doing all of the things. It is quite incredible. First and foremost, know your rights. If you have not taken a know your rights training, it does not matter what your immigration status is. You make sure that you sign up for one, whether it be at CASA or one of the many other organizations that are hosting know your rights trainings, and you know what to do if you have an interaction with ICE. That is absolutely critical. Look online and sign up and do that today. There's also tons of actions that we can take. We are seeing this movement in Congress where folks in Congress are saying, not another dollar. Call your members of Congress and say, do not give ICE or CBP another cent, and help give them the courage that they need to keep fighting for us to shut this program down. Last thing that I want folks to do is make sure that you are getting involved in your local and your state advocacy campaigns. There are so many happening. And while we may not be seeing those wins on the federal level, they are happening locally. And I have to give a shout out to Maryland, who just banned 287G agreements, limiting law enforcement officers from being able to formally partner with ICE. I shout out to Maryland because I don't think it's a coincidence that Maryland has the largest Black caucus in the country, formerly led by Delegate Janelle Wilkins and now Delegate Scott Phillips. But the bill was also signed into law by our first Black governor of Maryland and only governor in the country, Governor Wes Moore. So shout out to them and their leadership. This is a community victory, but Maryland is not the only place where action is happening. So whether it's at your state level, your local level, your municipal level, if you can go to your city council, reach out. There are protections for immigrants at every level of government. We've got to just stay involved.
Thank you so much, Kat. Brandon, last word to you here. Underscoring, we're gonna make our joy. They can't contain us. But what else would HRC recommend? So we are protecting our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ plus community and that intersection where it comes into play with immigration.
Yeah, so I would say three things. First, let your joy be untamable. I think I've been sitting a lot with the Super Bowl halftime show and the way in which it had this contagious joy that sucked people in. And at the end, with the flags waving and the football that says "Together we are America," like if you're not excited about that, then you look foolish, you look absurd. And that's the idea of our.
Of course, the ambiguously homosexual brown guy was totally in love with the Super Bowl. I bet him and his boyfriend kissed at the very end of the game.
In the White House. Second, as Kat said, you have power wherever you live. You can go to hrc.org. We would love for you to get involved with us to plug in. Whether they believe it or not, whether they will admit it out loud or not, this administration is actually allergic to pushback, and they do falter just a bit when they come face to face with an immovable object. We've seen that whether it's in Minneapolis or somebody in an inflatable frog suit in Portland. Every time they come up against an immovable object, they really do falter. And the final thing I would say is we are going to build political power in November that we can turn into real power in the halls of Congress. HRC has identified 75 million people in this country who prioritize equality when they show up to vote for their candidates up and down the ballot. 15 million of those voters are Black. That is not just a blip on the radar. That's what shapes elections. We know that those voters are going to determine what happens in November. It's up to us to talk to them, to mobilize them, to text them, call them, drag them to the polls if you have to, because we have got to get ourselves some power if we're going to put a check on this out of control White House.
That's right. Amen. Thank you both so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing on the front lines for all of us. I'm so grateful. All right, y'all, we are going to round out this conversation with a look at the 2026 midterms. We've talked a little bit about some of the issues that are shaping this moment. Now we're going to be joined by Glenda Carr, who is a president of Higher Heights. I don't know, probably president, CEO, blah, 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 lots of other titles, sister friend. Quentin James, who is the founder of the Collective PAC, also has lots of other fabulous titles and does lots of other important things. And I am so thrilled that we also are joined by
It looks like the president has left the White House. He should have made his way into the Capitol by now. You see the floor is filling up. Democrats and Republicans are kind of gathering, doing a little bit of glad handing and shoulder rubbing and all that. But people are taking their appropriate seats. We got the Supreme Court justices in the house right there. Where's my man Clarence, though? Where is Clarence? We need Clarence up there. Need some color in the Supreme Court. Looks like things are starting up, though. President should be out on stage momentarily.
My son's a freshman.
All right, First Lady's in the house. Trump got to be coming out any minute now. With the young Barron. Barron's a big guy, geez.
Mr. Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
Nice to see you, sir. Good to see you. Yes, good to see you.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
All right, it's happening, y'all. You said it's gonna be a long one. Pause.
Mr. President. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep them on time.
I'm gonna try a selfie.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline. Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem well, at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector. We ended DEI in America. We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year, we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps. And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. Go ahead. Thank you. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House. They were in the Oval Office before. And I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there and they weren't about to say no, because I'd never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuyck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal. And I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. You practiced that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case, my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best. And I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no. And every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics. And it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in the first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup. So we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming. And that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. Buddy earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday. So, buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClymont closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together, we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school and I made computers and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling. And pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that. But I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to trumpaccounts.gov, trumpaccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful country saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America. For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New Scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly use the word affordability, a word they just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward. The price of eggs is down 60%. Madam Secretary, thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance company has gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great healthcare plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost. In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so big. And I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened. And now I'm bringing them way down on healthcare and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action, but I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere, the lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more, all available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big, Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the TrumpRx website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500. A reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom. So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing I'm not sure it matters because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up into thousands single-family homes. And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Racel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon. We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records, your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these oft-forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year. As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. We'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Colton was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Lizbeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight, I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, Homeland Security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. The cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats, 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, Josh. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up. And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Amazing. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady, now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both. And Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal. This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Eric. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Evalie. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her that never seen anything like her. So sorry. Thank you very much. A great young lady. I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night. And she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone. But his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying. And after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melanie? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. My first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? Sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jared. And I also want to thank the man they report to, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco. People don't like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever. Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. It was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back, but we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the 9th war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president, would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests, 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, in particular nuclear weapons, yet they continue starting it all over. We wiped it out and they want to start all over again and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called Peace Through Strength, and it's been very, very effective. So thanks to Republicans in Congress who are investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies, have just agreed at my very strong request to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 4. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily, one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. Now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently. And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute, for one more dollar, we can have $1,776. It's going to, I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. One more dollar, I said $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it. So we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very impressive. They couldn't believe, they all watched, they saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby. As we did that, my baby is becoming so important. And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and not only defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice. And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved Uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down. Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro, really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter, a big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter. To deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine gun stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission, probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing. And people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife, Amy, Eric, and Amy. Come on in. So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg, we have it back, we brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will be there. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor. Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together, we mastered the world's mightiest industries and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies. And we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel. And then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years, they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside. But that great betrayal is over, and they will never be forgotten again. Because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.